What they did was to create a new legal construct of a security entitlement. Now, prior to this, as I said, securities for 400 years were personal property. This concept of a security entitlement severed that. That's its purpose. So what people then have in institutions and pension funds, even sophisticated investors, all they have is an entitlement. It's a claim, it's a contractual claim, which is very weak in the event of insolvency. So it's an appearance of ownership. It's sometimes referred to as beneficial ownership, which sounds nice, but what it means is that you receive dividends, you receive a proxy, you are the owner of title. You can, of course, you can buy it and sell it, but you can see in documents that I've found that the legal owner is actually the entity that controls the security with the security interest. They are the legal owners of the property. And this pain will accumulate in the central clearing counterparties, and then they will fail. And they're basically telling us they will fail. And when that happens, the people that thought that they had hedged their exposure, included the most sophisticated institutions and the pension funds, will have no protection. And the secured creditors will take all of the underlying stocks and bonds, which then gives them control of all public corporations. And once you control the capitalization structure, you then control all of the underlying real things.
Hello everybody, I've seen a few comments on my videos asking why I don't make more uploads. To be honest, there's probably two reasons. One is that I've seen so much good content out there that sometimes I'm a little bit embarrassed to put my content out. I know I can put my take on things when it comes to finance, when it comes to property market, but I'm in IT industry as well, so how much expertise do I have? How much expertise do I actually need to have my opinion out there, which is actually the whole purpose I put this channel out there for everyone to see. And the other one is that if I expressed my opinions on a lot of the things, current affairs, I would probably be banned from YouTube, and then I kind of have to hold myself back. This ties into my IT industry day job, is that if I say these crazy conspiracy theories, then any potential employer of mine in the future coming across my video, I might think I'm crazy, which, you know, if you brought those things up in the way I'd like to bring them up, I wouldn't blame them for it, especially that they haven't been exposed to the content that I've been able to find. Having said all this, I've come across a book. It started with a documentary, but it's a documentary about the book that this guy produced. His name is David Webb. The Great Taking is the book, and the documentary. The book is free, the documentary is free on YouTube, so there's no charge to it. It's free for anyone to see. The documentary is actually a bit vague. It gives you enough information, but I had to go into the book and I skimmed over it, more than just skimmed over it. The whole point of this is it's quite serious, and people have looked into it with open mind, but they probably tried to debunk this video because it just sounded too far-fetched. It's about the property rights. It's about the private property rights, that includes the securities, so shares, stock, bonds, any paper, gold, paper, silver, any ETFs that you may hold, and then the residential or commercial property that you may have a mortgage on, a loan. So as long as you have the credit or loan on it, you are affected by this. And affected by what? Well, they've set up a scheme over the last few decades, and this David Webb guy, who claims to be an ex-hedge fund manager and a money man, has found and done the research, and some people have actually gone deeper to corroborate his findings and haven't been able to disprove or dismantle his book, where the authorities, let's call them, have created these depository trust corporation, for example, where if you're buying a security, it's actually registered in the name of that DTC, which is Depository Trust Corporation, and they've created a subsidiary that's called Seed, CEDE and Co, or Seed and Company. So in the case of crisis, they created what's called legal certainty, that only secured creditors would be covered by that, and 99% of the people are not the security or secure creditors. The secure creditors are only the actual, it's not even your broker through which you bought these securities, for example. It would be the clearing houses like the DTC, and they created another one, Central Security Depository, so CSD, or International Central Security Depository, which hold all of these things. And I do recall that when you buy shares, they're in Australia, they're called CHESS sponsored. So I'm going to have to look into that and see what that means. But it's sponsored, so you only have the security or secure entitlement to those. And you think, well, that's pretty good, I've got entitlement. Yes, you have entitlement, but according to David Webb and all the research that people have looked into, you don't actually have the ownership of it. You're not the owner. You don't own that private property. It's not your private property. So in the case of, again, calamity, which they could manufacture very easily, you end up owning nothing, which is something we've heard before as well. So this is quite serious. It's starting to completely make sense what they've done in 2020. So they've robbed people of their bodily independence. They've pretty much forced them or coerced them at a minimum into taking the potion, and then because they could lose the job, because they could then, if they lose the job, they couldn't service their mortgage, to which they little did they realize that mortgage is really a death trap, not just debt but death trap potentially, where again, if you have a property that is has a mortgage on it, in the case of calamity, they could claim that as a collateral, and they'll be able to claim it. And there was even a court case precedent made, so they've covered all the bases, where when the Lehman Brothers went down, the actual security holders took I think JP Morgan, that was the custodian of those securities, to court and saying, hey, you need to pay us out. These securities, they're ours. And the judge actually said they are exempt, or he used a different phrase where he said that they are systemically important banks, and that they're special. I think he called them special entities or something like that, something that you wouldn't expect a judge to use a term for, because it seems kind of too common and almost hard to believe. But in the end, the JP Morgan Chase actually ended up getting all the securities, and it wasn't the supposed owners of these or investors of these securities that got that. So they got the court precedent, making the future litigation against this kind of action impossible. Not to mention that Unified Commercial Code apparently has been changed in all of the states in the United States. It started with them, and then they went on to Europe, and all the countries in Europe have this where, again, they're not the owners of securities. They just have this security entitlement, and it's the Depository Trust Corporation in the US and the Central Security Depository or International Central Security Depository, where that controls all of the others. So it's quite incredible that this is the case. They can use it to bankrupt 99%. The whole point that David Webb made in his book is that these high net worth individuals probably think that they're covered, that they have hedging, and that they should be okay. But that doesn't seem to be the case. And we're talking about not just someone who's got, a portfolio of 10 investment properties. We're talking about people who have multiple businesses, even large businesses. So multi-millionaires and even billionaires are not safe here. There will only be a few who will be saved. But we know what happened in 2020. That is not really a surprise, because in 2020, if we remember, all the big companies were allowed to be open. You had your Amazons and eBays and everything delivered. Even the just like Targets and Kmart's were open. Bottle shops were open. You think why? But because they're actually owned by Woolworths and Coles, so all the supermarkets own them, so they need all of their businesses left open. Big W's, even Bunnings were open. Apparently, the simple solution to it is to not have debt. So if you own a house, you've got to own it outright. Precious metals come to mind, gold, silver, unless you've borrowed money to buy it, but most people haven't.